Imagine waking up on Mars right now. Zero breathable air, flesh-piercing radiation, and toxic dirt beneath your boots. Still want to go? Tech billionaires keep selling us this glowing, multi-planetary dream, but they rarely mention the brutal price tag. Today, we are breaking down the actual step-by-step scientific roadmap to colonizing Mars. No sci-fi fantasies, just the ruthless reality. Getting there is only half the battle. Surviving the descent is where the nightmare begins. The Martian atmosphere is incredibly deceptive. It's too thin to rely on parachutes alone to slow down a massive payload, yet thick enough to completely incinerate a spacecraft entering at orbital speeds. Welcome to the infamous 7 minutes of terror. Your survival rests entirely on the flawless execution of Starship's automated retro propulsion system. When those thrusters finally cut off and the red dust settles, there is absolutely no time for celebration. The clock starts ticking immediately, and the psychological pressure is unimaginable. The first 48 hours on the red planet are a sheer fight for basic existence. The crew cannot even unpack. Their immediate, desperate task is to boot up emergency life support systems and frantically scan the hull for microscopic pressure leaks. On Earth, a tiny crack in your window is an annoyance. On Mars, an undetected seal failure means the entire crew will boil from the inside out and suffocate before they ever get to see their first alien sunrise. Every single second is a high-stakes test of engineering, where one overlooked detail guarantees a terrifying death in the dark. Once the ship is secured, the next immediate crisis is securing the most precious commodity in the universe: water. You simply cannot pack enough water from Earth to sustain a growing colony. It is far too heavy and insanely expensive to transport across the void of space. Instead, the initial colony must be strategically landed near massive subsurface glaciers. We will deploy autonomous thermal drills and ground-penetrating radar to melt and extract this ancient buried ice, purifying it and turning it into the blue gold that will keep the colony alive. But water only solves one half of the respiratory equation. You still need to breathe. Mars's atmosphere is 95% carbon dioxide, pure poison to human lungs. Enter the mechanical savior, a technology based on NASA's highly successful MOXIE experiment on the Perseverance rover. Imagine industrial-sized robotic lungs working tirelessly through the frigid Martian nights. These massive electrochemical factories will aggressively suck in the toxic atmospheric CO2, strip the carbon atoms away, and pump out pure, life-saving oxygen to fill the massive survival tanks of the colony. This is not just a small-scale science experiment anymore. It is a heavy-duty, relentless industrial operation. If these artificial lungs ever stop pumping, the entire colony suffocates. The infrastructure must be scaled up massively and function flawlessly, transforming a hostile dead atmosphere into the literal breath of a new human civilization. We have air and water, but they mean absolutely nothing without continuous, reliable power. If you think rolling out vast fields of solar panels is the answer, you haven't been paying attention. Mars is infamous for colossal global dust storms that can completely block out the sun for months on end. Just ask the ghost of NASA's Opportunity rover, which tragically froze to death in the dark when dust coated its solar arrays. Relying on solar power for a human colony isn't just an optimistic gamble, it is an outright death sentence. The true beating heart of any permanent Martian settlement will be atomic. Specifically, we are talking about micro-fission nuclear reactors, heavily inspired by NASA's groundbreaking Kilopower project. These incredible pieces of engineering are compact, robust, and designed to be deployed almost instantly upon arrival. They do not care about the weather. Whether it is the dead of a freezing Martian winter or the blinding middle of a planet-wide dust storm, these nuclear hearts will pump out steady, uninterrupted electricity 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They are the invisible lifeline that will keep the heaters running, the artificial moxie lungs breathing, and the water purifiers cycling. This vital transition to nuclear energy marks the exact moment the landing site evolves from a fragile, temporary campsite into an unstoppable, mechanized fortress. Now that we have a stable power grid, where do we actually live? Forget the beautiful transparent glass domes you see in big-budget sci-fi movies. Without a protective, thick magnetic field like Earth's, the surface of Mars is essentially a giant unshielded X-ray machine. Solar flares and high-energy cosmic rays from deep space relentlessly bombard the planet. Living in a glass bubble would guarantee lethal radiation poisoning within a matter of months. To survive, the first Martians must literally embrace the darkness and go underground. We will likely seek out ancient lava tubes, massive subterranean caves left behind by long-extinct volcanoes. These natural bunkers offer immediate, thick rock shielding against both deadly radiation and extreme surface temperature swings. However, if we must build on the surface, we will deploy an army of autonomous spider robots equipped with massive industrial 3D printers. They will extrude a specialized concrete made directly from Martian regolith, the local red dirt, mixed with high-tech polymers. These robots will systematically build thick, dome-shaped radiation shields, layer by layer, directly over our inflatable, pressurized living modules. Imagine a dense shell of rock and plastic, several meters thick, standing between your soft human flesh and the unforgiving radiation of deep space. It will be cramped, windowless, and deeply claustrophobic. But this brutal bunker-like architecture is the absolute non-negotiable price of keeping human DNA from shredding apart in a hostile alien wasteland. You are safe, you are breathing, but now you are starving. The movie The Martian made it look incredibly easy. Just scoop up some Martian dirt, plant some potatoes, and you are a space botanist. That is a massive, deadly lie. You cannot just farm raw Martian soil. It is heavily laced with toxic perchlorids, nasty chemical salts that will aggressively destroy the human thyroid gland and shut down your metabolism. Before a single seed can be planted, every ounce of soil must be painstakingly washed, heavily chemically treated, and injected with genetically modified bacteria to neutralize these lethal toxins. In reality, the future of Martian food doesn't look like a traditional farm at all. It looks like a high-tech laboratory. We're talking about highly efficient closed-loop hydroponic and aeroponic systems stacked tightly in narrow, windowless corridors, bathed in the eerie purple glow of energy-efficient LED lights. Every drop of moisture transpired by the plants is recaptured and recycled. And for protein, forget bringing cows or chickens. The Martian diet will rely heavily on fast-breeding insect farms, nutrient-dense algae vats, and lab-grown meat cultivated from stem cells in bioreactors. It won't be a glamorous culinary experience. It will be a highly calculated, engineered survival diet designed to extract maximum calories from absolute minimal resources, keeping the pioneers alive for the next great industrial leap. Surviving is one thing. Thriving requires breaking the ultimate economic bottleneck. Transporting a single kilogram of cargo from Earth to Mars costs tens of thousands of dollars. A true civilization cannot survive on an endless trip feed of supply ships. The corporate finance of multi-planetary logistics simply collapses under that weight. We must achieve total self-sufficiency. This is where the magic of ISRU, in situ resource utilization, takes over, driven by highly automated systems. The same frozen water and atmospheric carbon dioxide keeping the crew alive are chemically processed to manufacture liquid oxygen and methane. Suddenly, we aren't just making air, we are manufacturing rocket propellant. Starships can refuel and return to Earth, establishing a permanent two-way economic trade route. But the industrial leap doesn't stop at fuel. To expand, we must sever our reliance on Earth entirely. Autonomous mining rigs will begin stripping the Martian crust for raw iron and silicon. Automated foundries and AI-driven robotic factories will churn out Martian steel and heavy-duty glass. We will forge the very foundations of our new cities using the dirt beneath our boots. This exact transition is the tipping point. Mars ceases to be a fragile, isolated scientific outpost and officially becomes a self-sustaining, independent industrial world. The umbilical cord to Earth is finally cut, replaced by an empire of our own making. But while our machines master the planet will be ruthlessly mastering our bodies. Mars possesses only 1/3 of Earth's gravity, and this physical reality exacts a horrifying biological toll. Even with rigorous daily exercise, bones will become brittle, muscles will inevitably atrophy, and the fluid shifts in the body could permanently deform the optic nerve, blurring vision. But the most profound biological shift occurs with the next generation. The first children born on Mars will grow taller and leaner, their skeletal structures fundamentally adapted to a low-gravity environment. They will never possess the physical strength to endure the crushing gravity of Earth. We are not just building a colony, we are triggering the birth of an entirely new, divergent human species, the Martians. Yet the physical mutations pale in comparison to the immense psychological trauma. Look up at the night sky, and Earth is nothing but a pale, distant blue dot. The psychological weight of that unfathomable isolation is terrifying. This is where the dark psychology of confinement takes hold. Deep space cabin fever, exacerbated by spending an entire lifetime trapped inside artificial, windowless corridors, will push even the most resilient minds to the absolute brink of sanity. Without the sensory inputs of nature, the feeling of wind, the smell of rain, the expanse of a blue sky, the human psyche begins to fracture. Surviving Mars is as much a brutal war of mental endurance as it is a triumph of engineering. Fast forward a few centuries, and those cramped, bunker-like survival outposts will be nothing but museum exhibits. The Martian horizon will be dominated by sprawling, glowing megacities. Enormous, radiation-shielded biodomes, engineered with flawless precision, will stretch for miles, housing millions of inhabitants. Beneath the surface, high-speed magnetic subways will race through the crust, seamlessly connecting a global network of subterranean metropolises. But humanity has never been content with merely surviving inside a cage. Eventually, we will attempt the ultimate game of planetary engineering, terraforming. We will literally play gods, aiming to manipulate the climate of an entire world. The scientific hypotheses for this are incredibly epic, bordering on the insane. We might detonate precisely calculated thermonuclear weapons over the Martian poles to release trapped carbon dioxide and forcefully kickstart a runaway greenhouse effect. We could deploy thousands of gigantic orbital mirrors, focusing concentrated sunlight to artificially warm the frozen surface and melt the deep ice caps. It is a monumental, multi-generational project of atmospheric manipulation that could take tens of thousands of years to complete. But the endgame is a masterpiece of human ambition. Slowly, the sky will transition from a dusty, toxic red to a vibrant, breathable blue. White clouds will form, and for the first time in over 3 billion years, liquid water will cascade down the ancient canyons, carving new rivers into the Martian soil. Mars will be dead no longer. It will be a living, breathing second Earth. Conquering Mars isn't about abandoning Earth. It's ensuring the fragile light of human consciousness is never extinguished by a single catastrophic event. What is the very first thing you would pack for your journey on Starship? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to Star Life so you never miss our next journey into the unknown.